So when we watch the intro to Sherlock, we get this lead up with the drum. And it gives a sense that we're running towards something, you know, and it unravels and it gives us that sense of adventure that we're joining Sherlock just along with the ride. And something that I love that they do at the end of the intro video with the music is they do something called a Tears to Picardy, which is they take the music going from sounding mysterious or minor to something more resolved or major. So that last chord on the piano, it sounds like this. And if they wouldn't have changed it, it would have instead have sounded something like this. And I love that little trick where you can take this piece and the majority of this in this minor sort of mysterious sort of a sound and you end it in this major or resolution sort of a sound, and it gives you that experience of like, okay, like I've arrived. And I love how they play with this piece in other parts of the series where, for example, in this case, it gives you more of the sense of being inside of Sherlock's head, like he's thinking, you know, tapping his fingers, looking at some evidence, trying to figure something out. And then in this rendition, where the track is called Back to Work, what I love is it has more of those major or sort of resolved notes interspersed throughout the different instruments, and there's not as much sort of an epic reverb there, so it's less intense, it feels more intimate. It gives you the sense that you're with the characters as they just solve the case, versus, say, being introduced to the epic world of Sherlock and his adventures all at once, sort of as a spectator. Now, the track the game is on, it taps into that aspect of the eccentricity of Sherlock, you know, and how he thinks and the way he's just different from any other human on the planet. Now, the brass in the background gives it a sense of fun and almost clumsiness, you know, you're sort of like moving along and it almost has this breezy sort of a almost humorous or clumsy sort of an aspect to it. And my only gripe with this piece is not so much the track itself, but how it's used in the production, where I got the sense sometimes that it was just used a little too much. Like, I remember this one scene where Sherlock walks into some sort of a kitchen or something and he's eating someone's sandwich. I forget, but the point is that music came on and I was like, I don't think it was needed there. It's just a little too much. Like, I get it, he's Sherlock, he's eccentric, he's different, but putting this music so much that in some cases it may not actually be the type of message that the scene itself is trying to get across, I think dilutes the power of it. Now, another part that I absolutely love is the use of classical music in this scene with Moriarty. In this case, it's Gioacchino Rossini's La Gazza Ladra G, and he was known as the Italian Mozart, being very prolific and having very melodic elements in his music. Like at the end here, where the instruments are moving all over the place during the whole piece, and then as like a final climactic crescendo we get. And classical music, while he's listening to it, it warps us into his mind, because outside it's all chaos and noise, but in his head, he's insulated with his music that encapsulates his mood, you know, and all the complex things he's thinking about, being inside of the madness of his own head. And it's almost as if without music or doing all these, you know, evil things in his life, he'd be just bored out of his mind.
So boring, isn't it?
And I love how they do something similar here. Where again, music is used as a way for us to feel like we're inside of his head as he's listening to it. Except that in this case, it was a surprise that we were in his head this whole time until he takes those earphones off, which I think was awesome. Now, something I found interesting that I just wanted to use this as a platform to talk about is what I call the, you know, sad piano reverb effect, where you can take a main melody like, and just sadify it, I guess is a word I'm making up, by having it on the piano, playing it slow, putting a reverb on it. And they do it here in the scene with Watson. And I like how they add a few dissonant notes there to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, right? And I think it's well done. It's not like they're throwing a bunch of piano notes at you, a bunch of chords, you know, trying to tell you, yell at you that you should feel uncomfortable. It's just this sort of subtle sort of a feel to it that your brain recognizes as, oh, this is making me feel uncomfortable, even though you might not notice it while you're watching it. And then the last thing I need to talk about is this scene. I love how the violin is used here as a motif, and not just for the woman, but I think it encapsulates very well this archetype of a woman that we have in these sorts of stories, where they're smart and strong, but at the same time still very feminine. Like, for some reason, it brings me back to when I was taking drawing lessons, and in general, like, when you sketch out men, you have this outline that's more like boxy, and when you outline the female figure, it's more smooth and curvy, and translating that to musical terms, like with a piano, you have these very distinct sort of notes, but there is a break between them, and that's the case with many other instruments. But with the strings, you're able to slide from one note to the next with no break in between. It's very smooth, and so it's no surprise to me that the solo violin violin in many cases is used as a motif to bring to mind something feminine or a feminine hero or character in a movie or a story. So those are some of my thoughts to the music to Sherlock, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you really enjoyed this video, there's some really cool rewards on Patreon if you want to back me at certain levels. You get to talk with me in a one-to-one, talking about music and all sorts of popular culture. You get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content and much more. So, as always, thank you for watching Soundtrack Reviews, and I'll see you next time.